I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much vitriol.
But I've said that about Michael Bay, and now we're friends, and I would work with him again. But I think
Ryan Reynolds completely lost it when Fox News exposed his behavior after firing a makeup artist, showing his true controlling side. It's clear that he's just as egotistical and manipulative as his wife, Blake Lively.
New Ryan Reynolds tea. That's right. Ryan Reynolds, somebody revealed a source that says he had quite an experience demanding his makeup artist show up or get fired. I'll share that story for you.
Fox News didn't hold back, calling him out for his nasty attitude. The man had no right to fire someone just because he couldn't control his temper.
Evidence, but now she's going to tear into Justin Baldoni. I guess she's all these guys are messed up.
I do believe that he was like, Blake Lively, I have dreams about your dead dad, and this is what he tells me. That's so gross and weird and manipulative, even if it's true. It's so...
It's disgusting and weird, and even if it's true, it doesn't make it right. The whole situation reveals how toxic this movie set was. Ryan Reynolds, the so-called funny guy of Hollywood, got destroyed by Fox News, proving he's not the lovable, sarcastic Deadpool we see on screen. Nope, he's just a power-hungry, insecure control freak who thinks he rules Hollywood.
To intimidate people, and Ryan Reynolds, by all accounts, seems like a great guy. He is acting. By all accounts, he is a total pain in the ass. I heard a story yesterday of a studio executive who was so frustrated with him when they were shooting Deadpool.
If you think that's an exaggeration, let me tell you about the time he threw a massive tantrum and tried to ruin a makeup artist's career just because they weren't available for a reshoot. Yeah, we're talking about a full-on meltdown over some foundation and powder. This entire mess came to light on Fox News' Kennedy Saves the World podcast.
Ryan Reynolds is a bully. Justin Baldoni's a psycho.
Where an insider revealed that during Deadpool 2, Ryan's personal makeup artist was unavailable because they were out of the country on another project. Totally normal, right? But instead of hiring another makeup artist, since they're not exactly rare, Ryan flipped out. He reportedly told the artist, "If you don't come back, you'll never work in Hollywood again." Hold up. Since when? Is he the one
too? Because Ryan Reynolds had to do some reshoots for the movie. His makeup artist was out of the country working. Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film and the reshoots they had to do, and also said, if you don't come back and do my makeup for these reshoots, you will never work in Hollywood again. He's one of
running the show at 20th Century Fox? Who gave him the power to blacklist someone over a scheduling issue? The crazy part? Fox executives were frustrated, but still had to bow down because Ryan had already taken full control of the film. He was throwing career-ending threats over makeup. The level of ego and narcissism here is mind-blowing. But honestly, should we be surprised? This is how Ryan Reynolds operates. He's built his career by acting like the chill, easygoing guy we all know. But the second he gets behind the scenes, he
beforehand. Everyone knows who he is now. If he is a smart sociopath, he'll work that to his advantage. And
he gets behind the scenes, he transforms into a full-blown Hollywood tyrant. Just look at what happened with the Deadpool franchise. The original Deadpool was directed by Tim Miller, who helped bring the whole vision to life. But guess what? Tim didn't make it to Deadpool 2 because Ryan Reynolds wanted complete control over everything. He used his nice guy persona as Deadpool to mock Miller. Tim later admitted that Ryan demanded full control, and Tim wasn't willing to fight for every decision.
So much more evidence has come forward from even Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively themselves that all but confirms that, yes, Ryan used his nice pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Reynolds threw a tantrum, bullied the director out, and took over the entire movie. And let's not forget how Ryan Reynolds treats his co-stars. If you think he's only targeting makeup artists and directors, think again. He actively sidelines and humiliates actors who dare to challenge him. Take Morena Baccarin, the lead actress in Deadpool, for example. In the first movie, she played Wade Wilson's love interest, but in Deadpool 2, she was practically erased. Why? Apparently, she had a disagreement with Reynolds on set, and Ryan does not handle disagreements well. Instead of addressing it like a professional, he made sure Morena was excluded from press events, left out of promotional tours, and wasn't even included in group photos at premieres. You'd swear she wasn't even in the movie if you saw the red carpet. This is what power-drunk Ryan Reynolds does. He picks fights and then erases anyone who stands in his way. And it's not just the Deadpool cast. TJ Miller, who played Weasel, also spoke out about how Ryan was genuinely mean to him on set. Not in a joking way, but seriously rude. As a comedian, TJ can usually brush off jokes, but Ryan's behavior was too much. He admitted Ryan treated him like garbage, belittling him in front of the crew and reminding him that he was just a side character.
And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
Cathartic.
But as if I'm Weasel.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So he was like, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
So he's riffing.
Well, he's
here.
right.
Imagine being so unbearable that even comedians think you've crossed the line. And Ryan's control issues? They're not subtle. They've been exposed again and again, even outside of Deadpool.
Well, because he's so good at Deadpool, and I think it's weird that he hates me. And I think some people...
Do you know he hates?
Take Rebecca Ferguson, who had a terrible experience, working with an insecure, angry actor. She didn't name names, but let's connect the dots. The movie was Life, 2017, and her co-stars were Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal. Since Jake is still minding his business, all eyes are on Ryan. Rebecca said she was so uncomfortable with him on set that she refused to act directly with him. Instead, she demanded to act toward a tennis ball. Imagine being so toxic that your co-star refuses to even acknowledge you on camera. That's a new level of awful. But it gets worse. After Rebecca spoke out, she started getting calls from colleagues telling her she'd gone too far. Gone too far? She just told the truth about a horrible work environment, and suddenly, she's the one being treated like a traitor. This is how Hollywood protects the worst of the worst. They silence the victims and keep enabling actors like Ryan Reynolds, who gets to keep throwing tantrums and treating people like trash with no consequences. And let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal. He and Ryan used to be close, doing interviews together, joking around. Hollywood besties, right? Not anymore. When asked about Reynolds recently, Jake completely shut down. He refused to say anything and looked visibly irritated. When the interviewer pushed, Jake coldly responded,
"We know you have an ongoing feud with Ryan. Who? You know that guy. What's it going to take for him to actually be BFFs with you?"
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
And that opportunity has passed.
As everybody knows,
I have nothing to say about him. That's not how friends act. That's someone who's done with your nonsense. Honestly, who can blame him? It's becoming painfully obvious that Ryan Reynolds is not the quirky, funny, lovable guy he pretends to be. He's just another power-hungry Hollywood narcissist with zero humility, no patience, and a massive ego that no one is allowed to challenge. Every person who's worked with Ryan Reynolds and dared to speak up has described him as controlling, rude, and insecure. From makeup artists to co-stars, directors, and even his ex-wives, the pattern is undeniable. Ryan Reynolds is not Hollywood's nice guy. He's just a self-absorbed, power-hungry bully who finally got exposed. Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds were once Hollywood's favorite bromance, laughing together on talk shows, cracking inside jokes, pretending to be two peas in a pod. But then Life, 2017, happened, and suddenly, Jake Gyllenhaal wanted absolutely nothing to do with him. I mean, zero interaction, zero acknowledgement, and zero interest in even pretending they were ever friends. That level of disgust doesn't happen over a minor disagreement. Something major went down between them.
I can't do it.
Any words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that?
I have nothing to say to him.
Jake Gyllenhaal's reaction when asked about Ryan was pure, ice-cold rejection. His face dropped, his energy shifted, and he flatly said, "I have nothing to say about him." No fake Hollywood politeness, no jokes, just complete dismissal. And let's be real, Gyllenhaal isn't some drama-loving celebrity. This is the same guy who stayed silent when Taylor Swift dragged him for 10 whole minutes in a song. But with Ryan, he couldn't even fake a polite response. The rumors all say the same thing. Reynolds is unbearable, jealous, and toxic. Jake Gyllenhaal finally saw through his fake nice guy act. Now Jake has unfollowed Ryan, Hugh Jackman, and Blake Lively on social media, but only after they had unfollowed him first. And if there's one thing Ryan Reynolds hates more than not being the center of attention, it's being called out for not being funny. Let's get something straight. Ryan's entire career is built on sarcasm, but sarcasm isn't a personality. And it definitely isn't real humor. This man isn't a comedic genius. He's just a guy who figured out that if he says something deadpan and smirks, people will think it's funny. But guess what? Plenty of people who've worked with him aren't buying it anymore. Take TJ Miller, for example, who actually knows what funny is. He exposed Reynolds for what he really is. TJ didn't say, "Oh, Ryan's just a fun-loving prankster," or "he jokes too much." No. He straight up said,
I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
Cathartic.
But as if I'm Weasel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star. But you just, you do just enough exposition that it's...
Ryan Reynolds makes fun of people not to be funny, but to belittle them. That's not comedy. That's just being a condescending jerk. Then there's Scarlett Johansson, his ex-wife, who basically called him out for being the same exact way in their relationship. She called him passive-aggressively jealous, which is just a polite way of saying insecure, controlling, and unbearable. And considering he went from being married to Scarlett Johansson to immediately jumping into a relationship with Blake Lively, it doesn't take a genius to see how his fragile little ego couldn't handle being with a woman whose career was skyrocketing while his was going nowhere. Let's talk about the fact that Quentin Tarantino, one of the most respected filmmakers in the industry, absolutely torched Ryan Reynolds and his Netflix cash grabs in an interview. Tarantino didn't just lightly shade Reynolds. He completely dismissed his entire career. He said, "Ryan Reynolds has made $50 million on this movie and $50 million on that movie. I don't even know what those movies are. Have you seen them?" Translation: Ryan is making trash movies that no one actually cares about. And just, when you thought that was the biggest insult, Arnold Butler came through with the knockout punch. When asked about Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy, Butler didn't even pretend to know what it was. He straight up said, "I don't know what that is. I don't watch his movies." Imagine being in Hollywood for decades, promoting yourself, nonstop, and having major actors openly admit they don't even acknowledge your work. If that's not humiliating, I don't know what is. So why is Ryan doing this? The other weird thing is, maybe he's just insecure. And it's not just actors calling him out, directors are too. Legendary director Chris Columbus, the man behind Home Alone and Harry Potter, publicly shredded Reynolds for trying to ruin a classic movie. Ryan thought it would be a great idea to make a stoner version of Home Alone called Stoned Alone. Yes, that was actually a thing he pitched. Chris Columbus, a man who actually respects film, called it an insult to cinema and said Ryan needs to leave classic films alone. That's exactly why so many Hollywood actors and filmmakers have stopped acknowledging him altogether. When's the last time you saw a respected director say they wanted to work with Ryan Reynolds? When's the last time you saw a major actor, who isn't contractually forced to praise him, publicly give him the time of day? You don't, because most of Hollywood has already figured.
I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
Cathartic.
But as if I'm Weasel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star.
Figured out what the rest of the world is just now starting to realize. Ryan Reynolds is an insecure, ego-driven nightmare who burns bridges everywhere he goes. And let's be real, even his so-called fans are starting to see through him. His sarcastic humor, which once seemed witty and charming, is now coming off as mean-spirited and exhausting. His constant need to control every project he's in is starting to look less like creative passion and more like a desperate need for power. And his entire public persona, the nice guy act, is crumbling before our eyes. He looks like the guy your high school girlfriend warned you about. At this point, Ryan Reynolds isn't just losing friends in Hollywood. He's losing the goodwill of the public. And when the only people left defending you are paid PR firms and diehard fanboys, your fake Hollywood empire is finally starting to collapse. Scarlett Johansson really tried to warn everyone, but nobody listened. She came out and said it plain and simple. Ryan Reynolds is a jealous, insecure control freak. And if you know anything about Scarlett, you know she's not one for unnecessary drama. When she said someone is passive-aggressively jealous, it's a polite way of saying insecure, controlling, and unbearable. She wasn't making a generic statement. She was talking about Ryan. The absolute worst part? He didn't just leave Scarlett. He upgraded himself to Blake Lively before the divorce was even final. Let's not sugarcoat this. Ryan met Blake on the set of Green Lantern while he was still married, and by the time the divorce papers were dry, they were already dating. This man wasted zero time moving on, almost like he had been lining up Blake as a backup option the entire time. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. Blake Lively is exactly the type of woman a fragile, insecure man like Ryan Reynolds would run to after being humiliated by an actual powerhouse like Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett was an A-list, respected, independent actress. Blake was a CW star trying to break into serious Hollywood roles. Do you think Ryan didn't see that and think, oh, finally, a woman who won't overshadow me? This man was never going to survive in a marriage where he wasn't the star. And it's not just Scarlett. His other ex, Alanis Morissette, also called him out for being a jealous, insecure mess. This man was engaged to Alanis for 3 years before he dumped her out of nowhere. After their split, Alanis dropped an entire album, Flavors of Entanglement, inspired by their breakup. One of the biggest lines in it? If I just say it's true, I'm unbelievably insecure, really broken, devastated. There's that word again, insecure. When two exes, one a Hollywood superstar and the other a Grammy-winning musician, both say the same thing about a guy, maybe, just maybe, he's the problem? And what do you know? Blake Lively, the perfect wife Ryan left Scarlett for, is now getting dragged into his PR mess, too. For years, Blake and Ryan have been doing this annoying PR campaign where they pretend they have the quirkiest, cutest, most perfect marriage in Hollywood. Every time they're in the news, it's because one of them posted some forced, painfully unfunny joke about each other on Instagram, like a couple of middle schoolers. People ate it up for years. But now, people are starting to catch on. Here's the thing: no actual happy couple feels the need to constantly prove how in love they are. The fact that they do it every time one of them has a scandal or bad press? Yeah, that's not natural. That's carefully calculated damage control. And let's not ignore the massive elephant in the room: Blake's own legal battle with Justin Baldoni. This woman has been in and out of court for months because of the messiest Hollywood lawsuit in years. And now, Fox News and Hollywood insiders are coming for Ryan separately. They're not even being taken down as a power couple. They're individually crumbling on their own. There's no question that, yes, Ryan Reynolds based his Deadpool Wolverine character, Nice Pool with the man bun, on Justin Baldoni. And let's be honest.
So much more evidence has come forward from even Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively themselves that all but confirms that, yes, Ryan used his Nice Pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Did Ryan Reynolds use Blake Lively to fix his image after his failed marriage with Scarlett? Because that perfect husband act didn't start until he was with Blake. All of a sudden, he was the funny husband with the cute marriage and the Instagram jokes. It's almost like he needed an easier, more controllable relationship to rebuild his brand. And now, with Hollywood turning on him, what happens to Blake? Because let's be real, Blake Lively's career has never been strong enough to survive on her own. She's been riding the wave of their power couple branding for years. But if Ryan's image falls apart, what happens to her? And make no mistake, his reputation is falling apart. Hollywood has officially stopped protecting him. Fox News of all places just exposed him for being a toxic, controlling nightmare. Directors, co-stars, and even his own exes have all spoken out about his insane ego, obsession with power, and nasty attitude. Here's the funniest part. He spent his whole career pretending to be the funny guy everyone loved, and now even that persona is being destroyed. His comedy is being re-examined, and people are realizing he's not actually funny. He's just an insecure man who makes fun of others to hide his own flaws. And you want to know something? He's not so funny in real life. No, he's not so funny. He's very serious. And now, Hollywood actors are refusing to work with him. Directors are calling him out. His own best friend, Jake Gyllenhaal, won't even speak about him. And his exes? They've been saying the same thing for years. At this point, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively aren't Hollywood's perfect couple. They're Hollywood's biggest PR scam, and the cracks are finally starting to show. Ryan Reynolds is fake nice. Guy act is crumbling, and Hollywood is finally done with his ego tantrums and toxicity. Subscribe for more Hollywood exposés because the truth always comes out.